off the show because we think he's a dick. So it's just Matt and I. No, seriously, Blaine had stuff to do tonight, so it's just Matt and I tonight. So welcome to the show, Habs Unfiltered. Matt, welcome.
Thank you. Good
How are
evening.
you? How are you? How are you doing?
I was just gonna say you're right about him being a dick, but is this what you guys do when I'm not on the show?
No, we just make fun of the fact you're in the Air Force and how
Oh,
you're
gotcha.
working. We always do
Gotcha.
this in
Gotcha.
quotation marks. So
No, I'm doing okay. Better than the Habs goaltending tonight, that's for sure. But you know what? I can't even say 100% it was Habs goaltending. There was a hell of a lot of fluke goals, a lot of deflections, a lot of weird stuff happened tonight in a 9-goal game for the Florida Panthers.
yeah, 9-5.
Yeah, 9-5. So not
Yeah.
only does Team Tank get happy because they lost the game, people got free chicken wings.
Yes. But
So
but it was a dull, boring game. Like all
you
those
know what
goals,
it was? It
and it was
was.
a dull, boring game.
It
It was
was, yeah.
terrible hockey
Yeah.
on both sides.
Yeah. It was
Um,
literally like we were watching just kind of like a Timbits, kind of like a shinny type game. Like it wasn't that entertaining to watch. And
well,
I
I
had a
think
and I had a friend that was at the game, and I kind of feel bad for him being there, but
I think I wrote to you guys. I said they might as well just drop the nets down, lay the nets
yeah,
down, and
yeah.
bank the puck off the boards. You probably wouldn't score as much.
Make it a little bit more competitive, yeah. But like the first period, like with all those goals, there what 10 goals scored in the first period. Um, and as you said, a lot of them weren't skillful goals. That shot from Matheson was a thing of beauty. There's 16
Yeah.
seconds into the game, but other than that, it was just very sloppy. A lot of deflections off sticks, off people, off whatever, and it wasn't really that entertaining to watch. The good thing is Montreal didn't let up 10.
No, what I got, even Richard's goal there, it was a fluke. He just
It
spun
was.
around and shot it, and it just went off the post and in. Like it
Yeah.
just happened to go. Pizzetta's, he tipped it in off his stick, and I don't even know if he meant to tip it in off his stick. Uh,
No.
couple goals on Allen just bounced off him.
Yeah.
Like he
You
just was
can
at a bad angle, and
you can't
the
say any of the goalies in this game played well.
oh, on 3 goals on 3 shots on Bobrovsky, and
Yeah.
what I think after the first period there was what 13 shots and 5 goals.
Something like that. Yeah,
Seven
something
goals,
crazy.
seven
So
goals,
yeah, it
seven
was
goals
something
on
crazy.
15 shots. Like
Yeah.
it's uh Montembeau, I thought let a couple bad goals. This first couple goals, I
He
think
did, and
were yeah.
that's what
Um
warranted the first poll.
yeah, I would say Allen had more of the fluky goals go in on him.
He
I'm
did,
not
but at that point it was more the confidence that the team was shot, and then he was
yeah.
his confidence was shot. And I do believe that St. Louis made the right call, bringing Montembeau back in, say sit on the bench, calm down a little bit, and after that, he was much better.
He was. I mean, both you and I were big Montembeau haters last season. I kind of changed my tune. I don't mind Montembeau. I thought he's played very well this season. Um, well, for the most part,
To
like
an extent,
to an extent.
much better than last year. Much better than
Last
last year.
year, it was you could count on one hand the amount of games he didn't let a bad goal in, and one of them
Yeah,
was a shutout.
yeah,
Um,
yep, yep,
this year, it's better. Like I find this year with Montembeau, he doesn't get so down after he lets a bad goal in. Last year, he let a bad goal in. You
yeah,
knew 2 or 3 more were going in.
yeah,
You
yep,
just knew. This
yep.
year, he lets he really hasn't let a lot of bad goals in.
No,
Um, this game, he let a few.
I
I
find
mean,
I
I
find that
consider them bad
he
goals.
lets in like an inopportune moment type goal,
Yes, yes.
right? Yeah,
And whereas last year it was a how did you not save that type
yeah,
goal?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
man, you're in the NHL. How do you not
right,
save that?
right.
Um,
But
I
I saw a game tonight that the first period was like it was one of those wide open games. They got a little bit more life in the second period. Started a little bit on a forecheck, a little bit more physicality, etc., blocking some shots, which they did not do in the first.
hmm.
Um, and I think it kind of calmed down both sides, and it turned a little bit more into a hockey game. I don't know how many still people were still watching the hockey game after this at this point. Um, but again, just it was very sloppy overall. No player on the team can really be say happy with the performance tonight, and the fact that their next game is against Tampa. It doesn't get any easier for them.
Exactly. I mean, if you take away the first period, the game was 2-2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a positive, I guess you can look at it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like just look at some of the calls. Maybe we can just kind of get into that really quick. The goal that the whistle was blown and then the shot happened, like didn't really like that. And I don't like the fact that the ref didn't even give St. Louis the time of day to say like, hey, like what the hell, right? Like
and he and he
give me an explanation.
and he can't challenge it either.
That's right.
And what I didn't understand about that either is the ref had his hand up as if there was going to be a penalty called, and then there was no penalties.
There was nothing. There was
It's
nothing.
almost like he had his hand up. These guys are doing their thing. They let it go, let it go. Finally, he puts his hand up and blows the whistle. I do believe I'm on the fence with the goal.
It was close. It was
some
close.
replays I seen. I thought it was before, and some I seen. I thought, oh, that might have been in. So I'm kind of in the end. I think at least Martin St. Louis should have got the explanation to say,
Yeah.
hey, we determined, or at least they should have replayed it or something.
My problem is that he didn't do it right away. He did it after the fact, after another play had already started. It's not reviewable, etc. And yeah, it was just that was one that I don't think should have counted, but it is what it is now.
So it would have been 8-5 instead of 9.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I think it was 5-3 at that point.
That was the 6th goal.
Yeah.
So could have changed the game.
Well, a little bit, yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who
but
knows?
Another penalty that was called late in the game too, actually. As the camera is kind of like off to the side after Kovacevic just had a scoring opportunity. He ends up getting a 10 for coming in aid to his captain, Nick Suzuki, who got his stick up high, and it was a really weird angle. So I can't really say that it was warranted, but a 5 in a game for cross-checking, something that's very uncharacteristic, let's just say that, from a guy like Suzuki. We know that he's got that fire in him.
Yeah.
He just doesn't display it that often. But I think it was more at that point, it was more of like a game management decision from the referee. But the fact that he gave him 5 in a game, there is the possibility that it could turn into a suspension.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too, but the conversation could still be there.
If Tavares only got a $5,000 fine for that slash, and I will say this, that could have been handled by the refs better too in the Edmonton game, because that shit should have been whistled down long before that slash came out.
Yeah.
So Toronto fans, I don't know if I'm not bashing Tavares. I think he did the right thing in the end because he was getting mugged by Delorier there, or Desharnais. But anyway, it could be. I'm sure there'll be a talk, or there'll be an investigation, and he might get a fine. He might not. Who knows?
Right.
But good for Suzuki for sticking up for himself and doing what he had to do anyway.
It was just one of those games where nothing went right.
No.
For both teams. No, for both really. For both teams. Yes, one team out outdueled the other one, but even as the Panthers, I wouldn't be happy with that performance.
I wouldn't either, but Montreal's performance, and we could talk about the goalies all we want, but the defense was just terrible.
That's very true.
It was terrible man coverage, especially in the first period. Like Florida just seemed to come in and they just always had a guy open, or they always had a guy beat. They were always beating Montreal to the puck. They were
very flat-footed. They were very, very flat-footed tonight. And it was like, oh, guy coming down the side, I'll put my stick out, but my feet aren't going to move.
Yeah. Oh, he went by me. How did that happen? Oh,
exactly. No. Oh, you got him, Jakey. Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, they bounced it off his helmet and it went in.
Yeah.
But I mean, that could go back to the result where Montembeault and Jake Allen were bailing him out of a lot of games early in the season and making the big saves.
Right.
I mean, Brian from Habs and Dads asked me today about Monty's saves above average.
Right.
and he said, "Hey, he made a big save late in the game. Does that count?" And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I gave him the explanation, but it works. You take the league average and then you take the shots, and if everyone had the same amount of shots, is he over or under the league average? Basically, is how it works.
Right.
So no, Brian, that will not.
Well, I threw out a tweet here this evening, and I might have been a little bit early of saying it, although I'm not sure I'm the only person thinking about it. There's going to be goalies available this off season. Both these guys are still signed. Montembeau's got 1 more year left. Allen's got 2 more years left, and he gets his raise by a little over a mil next season, or just under a mil next season. Presumably being the guy, being the 1A, let's just call it that. Do the Canadians go out this offseason and look to get a goaltender that can come in to the NHL? Do they draft a goaltender? Do they try to maybe get a prospect from a team that could potentially be pried away from one? Or
Well, I've written articles on this very subject. Blaine just put an article out saying the same thing. So looks like Carter Hart might be on the move. Thatcher Demko in Vancouver could be moved. You have Levy in Buffalo.
right.
There's a question mark on whether he's going to stay in Buffalo or
just
not.
won Hockey's Player of the Year.
So that could change. There's because Craig Anderson's 40 some odd years old.
Oldest player in the league right now.
He's probably coming close to the end.
Right.
And Ukko-Pekka Lehkonen,
inconsistent at this point.
He's supposed to be their guy of the future, but he's very inconsistent. But then again, Buffalo isn't that great of a team yet. They have a lot of good players.
They got firepower. They just don't have any defense. Not yet. Yeah, they haven't put it together. They
haven't put it all together yet. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they could do. Wolf over in
Calgary. Yeah.
Calgary. He's another guy that he's kind of buried in Calgary, although don't ever say he might get traded because Calgary fans will lose their mind. But he's a smaller goaltender. He's only 6 feet, and they're not very popular in the NHL right now.
That's true.
Short goaltenders. So, but he's the best goalie in the AHL. Like he is dominating the AHL.
Right. Then you've got guys like Joel Blomqvist. You've got Askarov potentially. See, like for me, was it Wallstead? Just for Wallstead? Minnesota?
I think so, yeah.
Right. He is a little bit of a wild card for me because you still have Fleury there. I think he's there for another year or more. But then I gotta 1 second, I gotta find his name. Where is he on here? Was it Gustafson?
Yes.
Philip Gustafson.
They got him from
Ottawa.
From Ottawa, yeah.
And the guy's been on an absolute tear. Like his numbers are like very close to Allmark.
Well, I said when that trade was made that Gustafson was going to be the clear best player out of that deal when Talbot went to Ottawa. Yeah. Apparently Talbot's now was being shot by Ottawa.
He was.
So I don't think Talbot's an upgrade to Montembeau or Allen, but I think was it Vijamaki or whatever from Arizona? I think he's available next year too. I'm not sure.
I think he's an RFA. I think he's an RFA.
He's an RFA.
Sure. I'm not 100% sure.
But there's a lot of options. But with Allen's 2 years, and I think
he's actually signed. Vimaka is signed 2 more years at 2.725.
Okay, I thought Arizona had a goalie available in the offseason. I guess I'm wrong. I thought it was him, but I don't know. I mean, they're 1,500 fans will be disappointed if he leaves. But now Ken Hughes has said he'd like to get a nice young NHL ready goaltender. Whether he meant because Caden Primo's not the pitcher anymore. He's not.
He doesn't seem to be the guy. He could potentially be a backup, in my opinion, still. But he needs to find that consistency as a starter in the AHL,
Yeah.
and then the confidence at the NHL level, because it seems that he could have game after game in the AHL where he looks rock solid, and then he's just shook when it comes to the NHL level.
Well, I find too this year he's very inconsistent. This year
Yeah,
he's very, very like he's liked out one game and then
yeah,
knocked out the next game.
yeah.
And
He
that
did have that freak injury on the bench too.
he did, yeah. And then he had that great playoff run the year before.
Yeah.
And then so there was a lot of hope coming into this season, but he was very both him and Kevin Poulin. I think it was more maybe it's the defense because I don't think the defense is all that great. It's very offensive minded.
Well, it is, and you got to think the amount of people that they've had to pull up to the
Correct.
Canadians,
Yeah, from Trois Riviere.
right?
Yeah, so it's I wouldn't be surprised Montreal gets a goaltender, but I think they're going to go for like a either draft one or they're going to go for a young non NHL goaltender
Right.
if they're going to make a trade. I don't think you'll see them go after Hart or Demko, even though I'm going to have an article come out saying maybe they should take a look at Hart and Demko. But I just don't think they'll have the pieces to give up, or they'll want to give up the pieces that are going to be asked for them.
Right.
Um,
Somebody brought up a goaltender to me this evening, and pending RFA. The only thing is with this guy, it's again, it's health and it's consistency. But he is a young goaltender, was once more of a promising goaltender. That's Mackenzie Blackwood.
oh, in New Jersey.
Yeah, because they
Um,
have right now um Vanacek, who's still signed for a couple more seasons at 3.4, and then they had Akira Schmid as well,
yeah.
and they both been playing pretty good hockey in Blackwood's absence. So going into an RFA year, could he be somebody that could potentially be somebody that they could look at? His numbers this year haven't been the greatest, even though they're playing for a good team. 17 games, 3.04 and a 900 save.
It's still better than Allen and Montembeau.
It is. It is. And he's still relatively young. He's only 26
Yeah.
and he's 6'4", 225.
Doesn't
Right.
he have a vax thing going on though? Wasn't he one of the ones that didn't
I
want to get
think he
vaxxed?
was at the start, but obviously he's still in the league. So
Yeah, but I think they can be in the league. It's just, does Canada still have their everyone needs to
I'm
be
not
vax
I'm not
bullshit
100%
that's going
sure.
on? I don't know either.
Like his best year really was his first year in the league, and then in his second year, 23 games, 2.61 with a 918 save, and then the next season he played 47 games, 2.77 goals against, and a 915 save.
And that's when New Jersey wasn't that great.
Yeah,
So yeah, he could be someone to look at. Yeah,
but
if
I'm
he stays healthy. He's
but
just
I'm
not
thinking
healthy.
yeah, but I'm thinking more it was maybe a little bit more of the injuries that he was dealing with that maybe led to some not so good play, let's just say that. But his career 147 games, 8 shutouts, 2.95 goals against with a 907 save. And he has size. He's not like the top of my list, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's made available.
See, it all depends on where Montreal thinks they're going to start contending, because that's when they need a goaltender.
Yes.
Or I should say an above average goaltender. You don't need a superstar like Carey Price, but you need at least a Darcy Kemper,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what Colorado had, like someone who he's not going to lose you the game, but he may not steal a game for you either because he doesn't have to.
Right.
So that's where you got to think. So is next year a bit early to do that? Like, do you really want Montreal to jump the gun on a goalie like say Carter Hart or Demko or Blackwood now and maybe give up something? You know what I mean?
It depends on the return, of course.
Yeah, and I
Depends on the
mean,
return.
personally, I think Carter Hart's one of the most overrated goalies in the NHL.
He is. He is.
I wouldn't touch Carter Hart with a 10-foot pole,
It
but
does seem like the ask is going to be a hell of a lot.
yeah. And so I would say, and Thatcher Demko now, out of the three, I would go after Thatcher Demko because I think
Right.
he's just having a bad year due to injuries.
Yeah.
Um, and I think he does have a pretty good future in the NHL. But again, what's the return?
Yes.
Like, are you giving up a first round pick and a top prospect for a goalie?
Right.
I'm not.
So I got two more.
Okay.
Um, Jeremy Swayman, RFA. I don't think he leaves Boston.
I was gonna say I would take him in a heartbeat, but I don't think he leaves
I
Boston.
don't think he leaves Boston, but 80 games of NHL experience now, seven shutouts, 2.25 goals against with a 919 save percentage.
Yeah. And you got to admit, Boston doesn't have the greatest defense.
That's true. And Allmark is their, in my opinion, is their clear number one. Like he's putting up incredible numbers this year.
He's probably winning a Vezina.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's just looking at this year, 33-5-1, 935 save percentage with a 1.97 goals against
Yeah.
average in 42 games.
I would
Like
say if it wasn't for McDavid's year, he could be a guy that could win the Hart Allmark. But
he
McDavid's
should
just having
he could
McDavid's
even
just having a too good of a
yeah,
year.
yeah, he could but the thing is he could even be a finalist.
Well, he's not going to beat Austin Matthews.
That's true. That's true. Like Matthews is probably going to finish second in for the Rocket anyway, right? So, uh,
He has 30 goals now.
oh, there you go. The other one that I will quickly bring up,
You're
some
oh,
what happened?
I just lost all my hearing. So
Oh,
Siri came. I have an Apple and Siri came on for some reason. I don't know why.
okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Test
Yeah.
one,
So
two, three.
I didn't hear anything you just said though.
Okay, Blaine is a douche. Test one, two, three. Okay, all right. So somebody else brought this up to me, and I was a little bit intrigued by the conversation. Um, he's got a no move clause. Markstrom.
That would cost you too much because I think he's getting like six, 7 million.
He's making 6 mil for 3 more years.
And he's on a good team and he's playing shitty.
But you got to think them as a Calgary as a whole are playing like shit.
True. I don't know. Markstrom's a big question mark for me.
And he is for me too. So I wasn't 100% sure to answer the question because last year with Calgary, he was 37, 15, and 9 with a 922 save percentage and 9 shutouts. This season, he's played 47 games. He's got a shutout, 2.85 with a 894 save. But prior to that, he had a 904, 918, 912, 912, 910,
to me
915.
For 3 years of Markstrom, you basically have him just until you start contending at 6 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's true.
You know what I mean?
I'm wondering though, if they're unable to pry a guy out like a Dustin Wolf.
I think they'd have I think it'd be better for them to pry a Dustin. I would pay more for Dustin Wolf than for Jacob Markstrom.
I would
Just,
too.
just based on the salary.
Too.
And at least Dustin Wolf, he's an RFA guy. And then once his contract's over or his next contract comes up, you just sign him to like a 6-year deal and you have him while you're contending.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
And I would like to see that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure as a Calgary fan. I don't know.
I can tell you right now, Calgary fans would rather give up Jacob Markstrom than Dustin Wolf.
Oh, and they would. I just don't know. Like if I look at Dustin Wolf, he signed for 1 more year of his ELC, then he's going to be an RFA.
Right.
And this guy's consistently putting up just
super numbers,
huge numbers. But either they're going to move on from Vladar and bring this guy up, or they're going to move on from Markstrom.
But they just signed Vladar to like a 3-year contract.
Exactly.
Like literally this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Markstrom will be hard to get rid of because of his $6 million contract.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's yes. If anyone moves, if they want Wolf, they're moving Vladar.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'd take Vladar in Montreal. I don't think Vladar's playing that bad in Calgary,
Right.
considering he's a backup to Markstrom. But like, right, I'm not worried about goaltending in Montreal right now because they're not contending for another 2-3
Yeah.
years.
I think it's more optics for me. That's why I'm kind of making the
Yeah,
conversation and kind of thinking it.
yeah.
But you also got to look at the same time the plethora of injuries that Montreal has. It's not like this is the team that would be normally in front of a goaltender.
No, but judging by that, if you look at this team, and if they were healthy, they're probably closer to Florida in the standings than they
Yes,
are to the
yes,
bottom five.
yes. But
They're
like right
not making
now,
the playoffs, but they're drafting probably anywhere between 8 and 14,
yeah,
and
like
not
they don't have their firepower. They don't have their
yeah.
defense. They don't have the luxury of having some of these veteran guys in their lineup. And next year they're going to have a little bit of money to spend. Like, yes, they need to sign a few players, mainly a guy like Caulfield. But if we want to just quickly go into the last segment talking about some of these guys that are maybe on the bubble, um, like Drouin's probably gone,
Oh, he is gone. They're not
right?
re-signing Drew.
Right?
And I'll tell you why they're not re-signing Durant. They're not gonna like we're gonna get into the subject where you have RHP, Ylonen, Richard,
Yeah,
Belzile, maybe. I don't
yeah.
know. He's a UFA. I don't know if Belzile comes back. Pizzetta, all these guys are going to be fighting for a spot on the team next year. Um, so Byron's gone. He hasn't been there this year, but he's gone, so he won't be
Yes.
taking up a spot.
Monahan will be
Druin's
gone.
Monahan will be gone. They're not re-signing him. I don't care what anyone says. Monahan is not going to sign a show me what I show. I'll show you what I can do contract in
No, he
Montreal.
at this point he's too much of a liability.
Mm.
I liked him when he was there. Don't get me wrong, liked him when he was there. Thought he brought really good things to the team. I just don't like the injury history.
Yeah,
And it creeped up on him again this season. He's been out since December, and it
he's got.
looks like now he's likely done for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they Renaud Lavoie said it looks like he's gone for the year. So I would stay away from Monahan. I know half of Montreal fans are like, "You're an idiot. We need him." Yeah, all right, sure. He's going to be great for 20 games. Awesome. And Drouin's gone. Byron's gone. So that's going to leave room for guys like RHP, Ylonen. I don't think Belzile comes back.
I don't
He's
think he'll come back. I think they'll sign him because I
to
think they'll
play in
bring him
Laval
back to be their captain.
in Laval.
Yes.
Yeah.
But be a first call up guy like he has
Yeah.
been.
But I think you're going to see RHP, Ylonen, Beck, Joshua Waugh has a chance.
Yeah.
An outside chance to make the team. Riley Kidney could have an outside chance to make the team.
Yeah, but these are all guys. These are guys that are already signed.
These are guys that are already
Right.
signed. Yeah. Who do they have left to sign?
Like I'm just talking like going into next season. Going into next season, some of the guys that are on the team right now. Garyanov's going to be an RFA.
Garyanov's going to sign.
Right.
I think I think he found his game and he found his game back in Montreal, and I think he's going to sign.
I think with the right center, he could be a weapon.
Right.
Then you've got Ylonen. You've already said that you'd like to see him come back.
Yeah, Ylonen will be back. Harvey Pinard, Michael Pizzetta.
Pizzetta, I think that he's cemented his spot. I think he's one of those he's kind of like a meat and potatoes type player. Like he goes in a straight line, he finishes his checks. We're seeing a little bit of offense from him, but he's doing the right things. He's going to the net, he's finishing his checks, he's doing what he needs to do to succeed at this level, even though he's only playing minimal minutes on the fourth line. But he's doing what he needs to do to stay in the NHL.
So I think he's a steady fourth line player.
Yeah, so I think he'll be back as well. And then hard to say what's going to happen with Richard. I could see him being another guy they could potentially sign because I think he likes playing in Laval or likes being in the organization. I think he could be another one of those guys that you sign to a minimum deal and hope that he's gonna pass through waivers and be a call up if needed.
So Richard is a Group 6 UFA.
Yeah.
He didn't get enough games by 25, but he's still a
Right.
UFA. Belzeal's a UFA. Chris Tierney's UFA. Chris Tierney and Belzeal, I don't think are back. Like I say, Belzeal might be back on a minor league contract.
No, I don't think Tierney will be.
Oh, neither do I. I don't. I think Richard will be signed again like Belzeal. If they re-sign him, it'll be a two-way, or a one-way minor league deal.
Yeah.
Not an AHL deal because they want to be able to call him up, but a minor league deal. As of Ylonen, Harvey Pinard, and Pizzetta, they're all RFAs. I don't see them not getting re-signed. RHP and Pizzetta are they get arbitration. So Gurionov also gets arbitration. So I do see, actually, I can see all of them back.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. I don't see any reason why not to bring them back. Because like I say, you're going to have about, let's see here, cap friendly.
Well, you got to think the majority of these players that we're talking about, other than say Pizzetta and Harvey Pinard, are going to be destined to go back to Laval, or that's going to be the hope, because you're going to have a healthier roster. You're going to have guys back in Gallagher, Jake Evans, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, etc. But then you're also going to have guys that are going to be trying to make their spot on Laval. Guys like Mesher, Owen Beck, Heineman, Riley Kidney, Joshua Roy, those kind of guys. They're going to try to do their damnedest to make a pro team.
Well, the forward line for Laval is going to look awesome if all those players, turn pro and keep playing the way they're playing in the minor leagues. Don't expect guys like Waugh, Messer, Beck, any of these guys to Strubal's another one. Don't expect them to be jumping to the NHL next year unless they have a blowaway camp.
No.
If Beck has a camp similar to what he had this year, he's on the fence.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's on the fence.
My argument there, I love Owen Beck. I'm not shitting on Owen Beck, but we saw more Owen Beck at training camp and development camp based on necessity because of the amount of injuries that they had.
Yeah.
But he took it and ran with it. He did look good, and he was playing against some NHL caliber players when he was doing this.
But this brings up another question, though. So you have Brendan Gallagher.
Yep.
And you have Jake Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them constantly injured.
Yep.
I would try to get rid of both those contracts in the offseason.
Be hard to move.
A team like Arizona could take Brendan Gallagher just based on the cap floor. It's going up by $1 million.
That's true. But he does have a no move and he has a modified no trade and a no movement clause as well, right? So
yeah, 6 teams. He submits a 6-team trade list. But Jake Evans, he's only 1.7.
Yes, it's a movable contract.
So he has a movable contract. And the reason I say that is because you have Kirby Dach, Christian Dvorak. That's another contract you could move.
Right.
Nick Suzuki, and you're bound if you're picking top 5 to get you're going to get a center, another center. So really, Jake Evans is irrelevant.
He's a guy that they could move on from, but you could say that about a couple guys on the contract, which will be another time and another show. But it's they have 13 games, I believe, 13 games left in the season. It's going to be some of these guys that are on the bubble, they've got to show something or they're gone, because as I said, the management knows the kind of team they're looking for. Hughes is a guy that holds his cards really close to his chest. We're not really sure what he's thinking about in some of the deals. They're going to get a top 10 pick, probably 5 to 7 overall, unless they win the lottery or win a lottery spot. And then they still got Florida's pick as well, which could end up being another pick in the top 15 if they don't sneak into the playoffs. But
I
even
don't
then,
s- I don't see
it'll
Florida
be it'll
sneaking
still
in the
be
playoffs.
top 15, top
Yeah.
16, right?
Um, I think they're gonna end up picking 6th and 13th is what I think they're
Right,
gonna end up picking.
right.
Um, but yeah, I think Ylonen, RHP. Now, my argument with RHP is the same as your argument with Beck in the offseason or in the preseason. You're seeing a lot of them because you have to.
Yeah,
And he slowed down a lot
he
in his
has.
production since he came off. Now he scored tonight, but he
Right.
slowed down a lot in his production since he came off that first line.
Yes.
So to me, I mean, there was a lot of RHP hype when he first came in because I think he had what, like 8 points in his first
Yeah, he was he
12
was
games or
he
something like
was on
that.
fire. He was on
Yeah.
fire.
But I see him as more of a third line, fourth line guy.
Yes, he is.
So people, expectations, cool them down.
Right. But for me, he's much like I'm not going to compare him to Garyanov, but put Garyanov in RHP with the right center or the right line, and you're going to see productivity out of this person.
Well, that just goes to show that Montreal needs another center.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
look,
I mean, Kirby Doc healthy. You put Gurianov with Kirby Doc, you have
yes,
a line of Anderson, Doc, and Gurianov. That's a pretty good line.
that's a pretty big line too.
It's
All
pretty, and
guys
I
that all guys that can skate.
and I would like to see a line of Slepkowski, Suzuki, and Caulfield,
Yes.
and then that line with Gurianov, Anderson, and Doc,
Right.
and then your third lines like Dvorak, Ylonen, and RHP with
Right.
Evans, Pizzetta, and
Armia.
whoever.
Mike
Armia, I
Hoffman.
guess.
Mike Hoffman.
Whoever Armia on the fourth line. So I
And
mean,
then and we didn't even bring up Gallagher's name,
well, that's just it.
right?
Like where does Gallagher go when he comes back? He's not a top six player anymore.
Right now he's a solid third line guy that can move up the lineup. I love Brendan Gallagher. He is he really is that heart and soul player that you love. But from a business standpoint, that contract is a stinker. It really is.
I loved Braden Gallagher until he signed a $6.5 million contract.
And he's only in his second year of that contract.
And was it 6 years?
Yeah. Let's see. 6 year, 6.5 mil. And right now, in his first year of that contract, he put up 24 points in 56 games. This year, he's put up 9 points in 25 games.
And I doubt he's back this year.
Last week, they said he was still out another 3 to 4 weeks.
And that's the season.
That's pretty much the end of the year. He might come back for a game or two, but I don't think it's going to be much.
Yeah. So, yeah. And he gets the dumbest injury.
He does. But and even the season before that, he only played 35 games. He put up 14 goals in that time, but he only played 35 games. Like he hasn't had a full year since the 2018-2019 season. That's when he scored 33.
Yeah. Yeah, that
and like I don't care. I don't care if you're the Iron Man and you're playing 82 games, but I like to see in the 70s, something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're getting paid $6.5 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 70s and at least 20 goals. At least.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, what can you do? What can you do?
Yeah.
Another show, another time we can
absolutely. And it's going to be a conversation that we're going to have as we get closer to the end of the year. When we can kind of say like, this is where I see this guy. This is where I see this guy. And like there's some players that I just don't think are going to be back.
I think there's a lot of players, whether it's through trade or just not re-signing, that aren't going to be back.
Right.
I think they need to make room for young guys to come in.
Yep.
And that's what a rebuild's all about. But there's just some contracts you just can't move till they're over.
Right.
Like Armia and Huffman. I mean, Huffman might move at the trade deadline, but because he'll be a UFA next year or the end of next year.
Right.
But
well, Blaine and I have talked about this a little bit in length, and my concern is the prospect pool. Not necessarily that it's a weak one. I got no issues with it, but 11 more draft picks going into this year's draft in Nashville, which we'll be at. So anyone that's listening, make sure you come say hello. you can only stock the shelf so much. And then you need to pick and choose which guys you want in your lineup or which guys you want in your organization moving forward. And I'm seeing guys like Mesher, Owen Beck, Riley Kidney, Joshua Roy, etc. getting picked. Then, as I said, 11 picks this year. Who knows where some of the players that they're looking at, who they're going to bring in. Then you've got a logjam now on defense with some of these young guys coming in. It's going to take some time for them to evaluate where they see some of these guys and maybe start to say, okay, you're in, we're using you in a trade. We're using you in a trade, etc. Because they can't just keep putting them on the shelves and then losing them for nothing.
Well, that's just it. That's the issue. It's good to have a stock covered, but when it's Montreal's is getting to be, and the problem with Montreal's stock covered is there's no really elite to high end prospects there. Like you could say, hey, Riley Kidney's doing this in the Quebec, but when you really look at his overall picture, is he a guy you see as a first line player? No. Joshua Roy having a great season. Last few seasons again.
Yeah.
But do you see him as a top 6 player? You know what I mean? Like when you kind of put the pieces together, you're like, yeah, he's playing like if this was his draft year, he'd be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But he's
and
also,
you got to think these guys are still 19, 20 years old.
Correct.
I think both these guys are both 19. But I do get what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like, yes, we hope they can be. You always hope your prospects are going to be the best in the league. But if you put a realistic number on it, you got to look at Joshua Roy is probably a third line player that can get you 20, 25 goals, 60 points maybe as tops. That could jump up on a second line if you need them to.
Yeah. I just like to see them. I could see them just accelerating this rebuild a little bit faster by using some of these picks and prospects accordingly. Not necessarily for, a top this or a top that and try to like really fast track it. But I could see them bringing in a couple of key pieces that will facilitate this rebuild.
I think you're right. I think they're going to use some of these prospects as trade bait just to bring in younger, better NHL established players.
Right.
But the thing I'm throwing in on that is, what do other teams' GMs see these prospects as?
Right.
Are they A-level prospects or are they B-level prospects?
Yeah.
Because if they're B-level prospects, you're not getting that Jeremy Swayman or that, you know what I mean?
You're putting it's extra pieces that you're having to toss in.
So then Ken Hughes has to look at it and go, well, we want to trade this guy, but are we going to get anything better back?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the way I look at it. So, and I'm not saying you can't trade these guys and get something good back. I'm just saying, what do other GM, like we as fans and everything, look at it and say, holy, look at Riley Kidney.
Yeah.
Jesus, he's Connor Bedard out there, right? And so man, he's going to be amazing. So because you get some fans who look at a guy in the minors and go, this guy's going to be an elite NHL player.
Yep.
But really, if you look at the overall picture, there's a reason he was drafted in the 4th round.
No,
you know what I mean?
He was second round pick.
Second round. Yeah,
there's
a reason, but there's a reason he was drafted there.
Yeah, late second round pick and consecutive 100-point seasons.
Yeah, well, this season he says he's going to get 100 points in the 20 games he's playing in.
He's so far in Gatineau to 55 points in 24 games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and they got what, 10 games left, I think, in the season.
Yeah, probably something like that, or less, 6 to 10 games.
So he's probably going to have 65 to 70 points in 30 games.
Right,
it's over 2 points a game.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's like, again, folks, don't get me wrong. People don't know how to temper expectations, and then when this kid doesn't work out in the NHL, it's this guy's a bust.
Well, you're right, and but just to wrap up. He is one of those prospects that guys don't talk about as much.
Right.
He's still putting up huge numbers in the queue for the second year in a row, but he's not one of those top prospects that people are talking about right now. and he could be one of those guys
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
utilized in a deal,
yeah. Josh
depending on what other teams are looking for.
and Joshua is another one. Not a lot of people are talking about Joshua. I mean, they were at the World Juniors, but
Yeah,
they're not now and
no,
he's putting up 100-point seasons. So
right, right.
yeah. So anyway, it'll be an interesting off season. It'll be a busy off season. Like Matt said, we're going to be at the draft, all three of us, in Nashville. So we're all going to buy cowboy hats and cowboy boots
Yeah.
to look the part. So that's it for tonight's show. Matt, you got anything to close off?
No, just appreciate everyone that's been listening and sending in questions and all that good jazz.
All that stuff Blaine says.
Yeah.
I don't I don't remember all our them off. And my microphone changed again. See, I moved my mic. I got a loose connection somewhere. Anyway, fix this. All right, guys. Thanks for everyone for listening. And remember, if you're talking about it, so are